Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Kicks and Cup podcast, a podcast that unites checkered flags and offside flags. I am talking about Premier League Game Week 4 review today. It's going to be a quick one, and of course, I'm going to talk a lot about Liverpool because I'm a Liverpool fan. But don't worry, usually I think that when I'm like just faffing about without preparing a script, I am way too slow in talking. So today I have come prepared with notes. We will start with Arsenal versus Nottingham Forest. Good job by Arsenal. I think it is good for them to get in some confidence, get the team to click together. They also have like new players come in like Eze and Jokeres. And it's not like they did not struggle against Nottingham Forest last season. Of course, it was Nuno's team, and now we have the return of Ange Postecoglou. But yeah, I am. Yeah, nothing more to say. I did not watch the match because well, I mean, I did not have high hopes. I would have probably watched it if Nuno was still there. But yeah. And like I will not understand why or how Nuno was sad. Like I don't see the reason for it, but and then replacing him with Ange, which like no offense to him, he has like a totally different philosophy, like a different, totally different style of play. I'm kind of scared for Nottingham Forest now, especially considering how good of a season they had last year. Um, I guess we'll see if Ange lasts long enough, what trophy he wins for Nottingham Forest in his second year. Goalless draws for both Crystal Palace versus Sunderland and Everton versus Aston Villa. Villa, incredibly, the only team to have not scored a single goal so far this season. Things are not looking that great for Villa. Currently, I think they're sitting 19th, which is, oh, gotta be tough. Good debut for Nick Woltemada for Newcastle. They registered a 1-0 win. Who did they play? Wolves, over Wolves, I think. Yeah. They did get there were a lot of shouts and kind of criticisms about how much Newcastle have spent on him. So good for him to kind of silence that a little bit. I guess we'll see if it continues or not and how it changes when Visa is fit to start for Newcastle. But I'm happy for them. Listen, I know with all of this Isak thing and everything, things kind of got too far, but I have nothing against Newcastle, the club or the fans. So yeah, Brentford versus Chelsea. Listen, one half of my family is going to be pissed off by this result because they drew 2-2. But I feel so vindicated because I said to Neil when the transfer window started, and like even towards the end of last season when he was just frustrated with Sanchez, I said that you should be going for Kelleher, and he did not agree with me. Of course, Chelsea at the time were going for Mike McNan, yeah, but it did not obviously work out. I am not saying that Sanchez is bad. It's like just you don't know with him when he'll slip up. And Brentford got a late equalizer. So I don't know. I'm glad Palmer is back mostly for my fantasy football team. And like that second potential goal that Kelleher saved. It was such a good save, and I just sat smug right next to my husband saying that, listen, I told you should have gone for Kelleher. I don't know if Liverpool would have sold Kelleher to Chelsea or not, given that they are a direct rival. They will always be a direct rival. I would not write this Chelsea team off, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I will save Liverpool for the last because, of course, that is going to be long. So I'm going to first talk about the match of the day, the Manchester Derby. And boy, oh boy, did United make City look so good. I will, and listen, I don't want to give too many opinions on this because I just want this to continue. I'm a Liverpool fan and I am enjoying this so much. But like I've said this since the day they got Amarim, that it was a bad decision. This system is probably not the problem. Like three at the back is doable, And we've seen some managers do it and get success. Amarim himself has had success with this system at Sporting and even against Premier League sides when he was playing in the Champions League. But United just does not have the players. So I think this decision was just wrong. And to spend like 200 million plus on attack and not even be able to score a single goal from open play and count on Harry Maguire to be able to head a ball in, it's shambolic. Like the problem with Amarim is not that he does not want to be flexible with his tactics. No, it is that. Sorry. The problem with Amarim is that he does not want to be flexible with his tactics. And it seems like everyone wants him to switch to four at the back, but even with three at the back, a manager can make tweaks based on what is happening on the field. And he does not even do that. I don't know how long he's going to last there, but like United fans should be worried, and rightly so. They thought it was bad with Eric Ten Hag or Ole or Jose, and but this is just worse than that. And it is crazy to me how they just keep doing this over and over again. And I'm surprised there are still Manchester United fans that I see who want to give Amarim time. Like he's been there close to a year, and yes, one can make an argument that he's had only 4 games with this new team and new signings and such. But I would hear that argument if the players who have been at the club across the 2 seasons knew what they were doing. Like, other than the attack, realistically, they got like 3 attackers and 1 goalkeeper, right? So, other than the attack, maybe if the midfield and defense were able to do their job, I would say probably yes, the attack needs to understand how they can produce output, and at least the back is doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? The midfield is able to perform, the defense is the defense is able to hold off threats and everything. But like I feel like nobody knows what they need to do, and they have no identity at all. And as a Liverpool fan, it is fun to watch. But if this just keeps happening, I think it might just become sad at one point. So now let's come to Burnley versus Liverpool, okay? And oh my God, this is becoming a pattern with Liverpool, and people are going crazy as you would expect. Like, Burnley played exactly how you would expect a recently promoted side would play against the reigning champion. 5-5-0 formation, no attacking intent, parked the bus and hoped for a point. And like we should be able to break down low blocks, kind of the reason we brought the likes of Wirtz and Isak, of course, not fit right now, but I think the manager is right to say that if it's better if we build the player fitness slowly than like chucking him in directly and risking injury or fatigue. Now, to the claims that Liverpool being lucky and VAR granting them a helping hand by giving a red to Burnley and giving Liverpool a penalty. First, the penalty, that handball is a penalty every day of the week. VAR did not need to check it. The player knew the moment it happened that he had screwed up. He knew it was a costly mistake for them because another minute and a half and Burnley would have gotten their desire of a point against the champs. So don't cry about it. You would be calling PG MOL cheats if it happened against your team and it wasn't given. Them the rules, so cope and cry harder. I don't care. As for the second yellow for Ugochukwu, he got it in the 84th minute. And I think referees do this. They will give you an early warning, but if you keep on doing the same thing, if you keep on making reckless challenges, then they will give you a second yellow card. And if you don't think he should have gone off for that foul on McAllister, still calling us Liverpool, can't even waste my energy on you because like this is just bullshit. I think his foul on McAllister was a straight red. And all you haters would have cried if they gave the same decision against your club. This is what is crazy to me. You know how fans came from different clubs came together when they were rightly protesting about the rising prices of tickets, um, how they came together to protest how these clubs are raising ticket prices and are like profiting off of the loyalty that fans have for a club. Why can't we do for it for refereeing as well? Like you, just because it gives you the satisfaction that it hampers your rivals, it might hamper you as well. You don't know. That is the problem. So like 10 players or not, and mind you, it was only for the last 10 minutes of the game that they were down to 10 men. That penalty that Liverpool got was not because they were down to 10 men. It was an individual mistake, and it's a penalty every day of the week. So stop crying and cope harder. Now to Liverpool's performance. I think overall we were too slow. Why are you giving Burnley time to get back and position themselves inside the box when it is proving difficult to break them down? We have enough pace to be able to move the ball quickly. We were too slow for a team struggling because everyone was in a box. Set pieces. Like we need to improve from them. Free kicks, corners, both. I'm not saying relying overly on them, but they are an opportunity and we should have some goals from them. 13 corners and nothing. Even better shot accuracy, like 27 total shots and 4 on target. Not good enough. Sure, there were deflections and such, but like when you put them under pressure over and over again, there is a chance that they would slip up. Better shots, on target shots are what will get you goals. This attack, our attack needs to gel well together and they need to do it fast. Like too many slip ups, there are too many sloppy passes, too many passes and moves that seemed like the one player expected another to make a run or position themselves in a certain way, and that chemistry was just not there. We are getting wins and it's all good, but we were 90 seconds away from dropping 2 points that could have been avoided. Like I don't think Words and Ekitike and McAllister have figured out their individual positioning when playing together. Like there were too much confusion. They were kind of occupying the same spaces. So like that chemistry, that understanding of what everybody's role is and how they are supposed to be playing with each other needs to come quickly. And I am a little bit, I wouldn't say I'm scared, because like we have enough individual brilliance to be able to get a result, a positive result. But still, like I would rather we be start showing signs of getting out of this, like this stuck in second gear. Like let's start showing some of that. Now I'll talk about some individual performances. Kirkes, bro, you're trying too hard. Like it seems like he wants to justify why Liverpool signed him, and he doesn't need to do that. You're a Liverpool player and we know what you're capable of because we've all seen you play for Bournemouth. And yes, there is pressure that is going to come from being a Liverpool player and as such, but like you cannot keep getting a reputation. Like if you put in these performances, you'll get a reputation in the mind of the manager that you can't be trusted. Like too many early yellow cards, too many emotional and hot-headed moments. He doesn't need to be perfect. Like you don't need to go for every single header, don't need to block every single cross, don't need to like just be there. Like sometimes it is okay if you're just keeping up with the attacker and you're just like you're there to just seize the opportunity when it presents itself, rather than going gung ho like I have to do this now also. um he's trying way too much, and that dive was just an insane move to make. Like I'm not a fan of that bullshit, and it was just a bad performance. And I'm glad we got to see Robbo. I think he looked really good, and he got a good opportunity to remind the manager what he has to offer when he does get the chance. McAllister needs to get fit quicker. Like yeah, this thing of like not having, I understand why he was not involved in the preseason. He had an injury issue, and so manager wanted to give him time, but like he is again not fit. And like I said, because we have not gelled well together, I think it's becoming a little bit difficult for us to be able to, like just produce something. Connor Bradley again looked very good when he came out. And like I think this is a game where we should have utilized Frimpong's pace. Like we needed that. Like don't give them time to come in and set inside the box. Midfield, more or less, I was okay with it. I know we didn't have Curtis, but I don't think we missed him. I think Gravenberch was balling the entire game. He was incredible. Zoboslai, as usual, was amazing. But like, to be fair, we didn't have too much in terms of like defending. Like even like the Allison could have gone home and we would have been fine. They did not have a single shot on target. Cody Gakpo, I think should have been taken off. Cutting inside from the left and shooting when there are three players in front of you, like there is no point. But he kept doing it over and over and over again. And I'm like, bro, it's not going to work. Why are you trying the exact same thing? And to the Liverpool fans who are saying why we sold Luis Diaz, he wanted to leave. If you think Liverpool should have given him the wages he wanted, you're out of your mind. He's getting like 280k at Bayern Munich. Liverpool would not have, no matter what his previous contract was. There are reports of 140k a week, there are reports of 75k a week, 50k a week. I don't care. Like, Liverpool would not have given him that contract. Like, the wages that he's getting at Bayern, we have given those wages right now to the likes of Isak, Wirtz, Frimpong, young players who have their peaks coming up, or who are going to be here for the long term. We would not have given him those wages. So he wanted to leave, and we got the money for him. Let's cheer on the players who are here, criticize them, yes, but there is no point in crying for a player who did not want to be here, no matter what his reasons were. And I'm not trying to hate on Luis Diaz, but we never had a plan to sell a left winger this season. He wanted to leave, and so just let it go. Cody Gakpo is here, and his signature trick wasn't working, and he should have been taken off. Those are the things that we should be talking about. All this crying about, oh, we never should have sold Diaz. We sold Diaz because he wanted to leave. That there is no other reason for it. And now I have to talk about Salah, okay? Now, Salah has not had the games that we know him to have. But in that moment, I did not want anyone else to be stepping up to take that penalty. Salah has his criticisms, and I will give you them. Sloppy passes, woeful first touches. He's looked absent most games. And some of it could be because how our attack has not gelled in yet. But I still think Salah is capable of going by himself and scoring. And we haven't seen enough of it this season, bar that fourth goal against Bournemouth. And I hope it gets resolved soon. And I think he might be taken off if it continues once we have Isak fit and ready for use for like 2 games a week. But like this constant disrespect towards Salah, like guys, this disrespect that I've seen towards him, as if he owes you a crazy, incredible performance every single game. Like, fuck the fuck off. If you can't support a player going through a bit of a dip, don't celebrate when they rescue us. And that to a player like Salah. He has done that. 8 years he's done that. Last season was a problem because we were too dependent on him. Last year, none of you had a problem when Salah was doing amazing performances game in, game out, when he was rescuing us. He was involved in 70% of our goals. Nobody had a problem then. Nobody had a problem then. The first goal against Brentford, and I think then there was a goal against Crystal Palace in the first couple of game weeks, is the 2 goals I remember where Salah was not involved. Either he was not the assister or the goal scorer. Like, the man has contributed to the success that we've seen as a club for 8 years. Last season was a problem that we're too dependent on him. This year, he's not doing enough. Like, there's just no pleasing Liverpool fans. Like, I don't understand. Last year, he had a record breaking season, almost as if he's discovered another peak in his performances. And last season, by the way, during Salah's dip, we got out of Champions League. We lost the Carabao Cup finals. We drew games. We drew Everton games. We drew Aston Villa game. He carried us. Last season, he carried us. And no one, even then, no one questioned, even then, why no other attackers stepped up. Why were they not doing anything? And that is why Salah keeps his spot. Because no one ever stepped up. And this season, we are still winning. We are seeing these amazing moments of brilliance from other players. We are seeing them step up. And once the manager thinks that we can survive without Salah, that there are players who will undoubtedly step up, maybe we will see him get taken off. But you have to earn that trust by doing it consistently. And Salah has done that. So criticize him when he's doing bad, absolutely. But don't slander him as if he's been a shit player to us, shit player for us for all the time he's been here. We should be moving towards less dependence on him anyway. This is an AFCON year. This is probably the last contract he's got with Liverpool. In 2 years, we probably might not have him. And then you'll realize what we were missing. When no one else stepped up, he did. And we crucified him when he probably was not as good as the incredibly high standards he sets for himself. So, there is a huge difference between criticizing Salah's performances and slandering him as if he's a good for nothing player. He did not forget how to play football in a span of 4 games. He did not forget how to take penalties just because he missed two. There was nobody else in that moment who should have been stepping up and delivering. There was nobody else that I could have thought of. Like, if Salah was not on the pitch, I would not have been confident. I knew at the time. The only thing I was scared of is that Dubravka is a good goalkeeper, but I've not seen enough of it. And I was like, maybe he's a good shot stopper. You never know. Keller has done that. Keller has saved penalties for us. So other goalkeepers also have the right to make those saves. That was the only thing I was concerned about. I was not concerned that he would sky it. I was not concerned that he would be off target. The only thing I was concerned about was there's a chance Dubravka saves it because he's not standing there just for the sake of it. So looking forward, I honestly I can't wait for this team to click. We need to come to that moment as soon as possible. But honestly, 4 out of 4 wins, incredible. I would take it. However it came, I will take it. At the start of the season, we looked defensively shaky, and I think the last 2 games we've kept a clean sheet, which is a very, very good thing. But I would caveat it by saying that both these games were against teams that weren't actively looking to attack. Maybe Arsenal more than Burnley because they had one more shot on target. But the true test of our defense, and particularly of Konate and Kirkes, will come when we play another team that wants to play football and not just defend. This week, the European games will be starting. Liverpool hosting Atletico Madrid, which should be an intense and hopefully an entertaining match. Julian Alvarez, probably, I think, another name in the names of strikers that Liverpool fans at least wanted. I'm not sure if the club ever looked at bringing him here. Though we did propose that exchange when Luis Diaz wanted to leave last season as well to Manchester City. So he has wanted to leave for a while, guys. Just let go of this thing of like, criticize Cody Gakpo, but stop saying this thing of like, oh, we should never have sold Diaz. We sold him because he wanted to leave, and that's fine. You can't be like Liverpool fans and saying it to Newcastle fans, oh, why are you keeping a player when Isak doesn't want to be there? And then be like, oh, we never should have sold Luis Diaz. He wanted to go. He wanted to go, and we let him. That's it. End of discussion. Our left wingers are Rio and Gumoha, who looked brilliant. That pass to Frimpong, which I hope Frimpong just scored that. But that pass was incredible. Rio should have come on way earlier. Those are the things that I think we should be questioning, rightly so. But like, stop slandering our current players for players who have left, and just stop slandering them as if like anything that they've done in the past, anytime that they've shown us what they're capable of, does not count just because they're not having a good time right now. So, yeah, I'm glad football is back. Liverpool top of the table. European nights are coming up soon. Leonie debut likely to happen against Southampton in the Carabao Cup. Hopefully Isak will also make his debut either this week against Atletico Madrid or Everton. So I'm excited. Even though I feel like I get a heart attack every single time I watch our matches, I'm still excited. So Let me know your thoughts in the comments about what you thought of the games this weekend. And until next time, see you later. Bye.